Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, assaulting your ears since 2014, I think. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, here to share music with each other, for the fun music discussion that is this podcast. We've got Brett.
I'm the guy who likes ska a bunch.
Yes. We've got Drew.
No, I don't know what to say.
You broke the bit, Drew.
Yes.
I had a joke about like Demon 5 still having working at one way, twerking at the other in his profile on Twitter, and now I've lost it.
Yes. And we have Patrick.
Hi.
Yes. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album, as we do every week, at least as far as you know. We're talking about an album. I provided the album this week, as it is my turn. It's my time. My time is now. And I provided an album that I totally said the name of last episode. You can't tell me otherwise. Wasted Johnny's and their album Crossroad. This is a really cool Korean band. Kind of a trio at the point of this album. They've kind of shifted gears. It's mainly centered around Angie, and her vocals and her guitars, with other people coming in to help her out. But yeah, it's a really cool band. It's probably going to be an easy answer to question. But let's talk about expectations. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, I knew they were being brought by you, and they were a band I wasn't super familiar with. They may come from a country that wasn't ours, so I knew that I was probably going to be in for something that was well produced, and that was all that I knew going in.
Yeah.
So I was super pumped for it.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what was your haiku? What was
Your haiku now?
Wow, we really
Pop
just
quiz.
jumped right to the end. I'm coming in blind.
Cool.
Like sometimes Petey brings stuff I'm familiar with. This isn't it. So coming in with an open mind.
What did my brain do there? Brett, what's your conclusion on this album?
Not only is it going to be like I haven't heard this album, but like on Spotify, most of these songs have less than 1,000 plays. So I'm guessing not a lot of people have heard this album.
Yeah. It's very indie, very indie. A release from an indie label that, oddly enough, was actually bought by one of the big three labels, but they're still an independent label. In Belgium, but yeah, Wasted Johnny's is not a huge band, but yeah,
Which label?
SM their label is Baljonso, or Baljunso or something like that. Okay. And they got bought by SM Entertainment, which is the group behind Girls' Generation and Super Junior, those groups. But they're still, they're still an indie band. But yeah, this group is really cool. Like they mix a lot of like rock and roll, bluesy sounds. It's very, like I said, it's very centered around Angie and her guitar and her vocals. She very much has like a very like a rock and roll like tone to her vocals. Very like high energy, very like projecty, in her vocals, and the guitar work is fun and frantic, and they're talented, and like, but they're not excessively tight. They kind of have a very live feel. I don't know.
They're effectively wild.
Yes, effectively wild. I think.
Not. Yeah.
Yes, effectively wild, I think is a great way to put it. Because it's off of that kind of a bluesy rock and roll feel, where it's meant to feel a little bit more live, a little bit more like loose. At least to me, it does that in a pretty good in a few different ways, and I think the music is really cool. And It has at least some has a lot has some nice variety to it. And I'm glad I brought him in. I'm glad actually because I hadn't actually sat down to listen to this whole album. I just picked it like let's check this out. Let's do this. But I definitely don't regret bringing it in because it's a really cool album. But let me ask you what you guys think. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements?
I think you said it pretty well. Like what hit me was how like crazy it like just came across in every good possible way. The blues of the album was really surprising. The blues influence was dripping out of every song in this, which I think is really, really cool. I've said it before when you bring these types of bands on, and I feel like it's like there's genres of music and they're like, we can do that really well. Let's grab that and let's just do it and make it our own and put our flair on it. And that's this album to a T. There was a swagger to this album, like not the one below me. I don't know if he can play guitar this well. If he can, kudos. But as he shakes his head no for those on audio.
No, I'm a garbage guitar player. I just play for shits and giggles.
Yes.
I have fat Italian sausage fingers. Like I played bass because I couldn't make chords. I'm not even lying about that.
I liked seeing Shits and Giggles live the other time. There was a good show.
Oh yeah,
I'm more
really
of a Giggles fan. Like
when Giggles
the
kind of broke off
the shits aren't the best,
verse.
but in the '80s, the grit.
Yeah.
When Giggles went off and joined Wings, it was really poor performance.
You heard that time that they had the mic? Yeah, that was bad. The vocals. Yo.
But there's a confidence and like a swagger to this album that I really, really dig. There is just album stealing guitar work throughout this entire thing, in my opinion. It's got elements of that really like sort of almost dirty like Texas blues to it. I think that is my favorite sort of stuff. I've never had a record that we've done that has compelled me to literally go to my father and be like, no, you need to listen to this until this record. There's always been stuff like, I'm like, oh no, I think you would like this. You would have fun with this. But I was like,
Hulk
no,
rules.
like,
Here, Dad, here's Hulk rules. Listen to this. It's going to change your life.
yes.
Certainly
My dad was a Hulk fan, so he was already familiar. But like my dad loves the blues, and this was something that was like, oh my God, it's a new record, and yet it takes from so much of the old that I think like it's just brilliant. It was fun for that.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what were your thoughts? How would you describe this album musically?
It's pretty bluesy. It's bluesy with some rock, with some certainly, I think basically blues rock and a little touch of rockabilly here and there, and just sort of, something, not the genre I thought they were trying to revive in Korea in, 2018. But hey, here we are.
They are not. It's just these three. It's just this lady.
I know. I'm just like, it's not. I've heard more blues in my life than I probably want to. It can get old, but like this is all right. They're pretty good at what they do. It's got you have like Drew said, there's some personality to it. You got good musicians, but they're not treading any new ground. But the ground they're treading, they're at least treading it well.
Yeah.
Bring in Texas Flood next album. Fuck.
Yes. Yeah, Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I mean, so you look at the album cover and like focused in the very like the focal point, like right leads your eyes right to this very large Gretsch White Falcon, which is a non-trivial grandpa's guitar kind of thing that me and Squiggles look at and be like, yeah, that's fun. And that's definitely got some very much some grit. The sound of that guitar in this style is a little it's noteworthy to the sound. I wasn't getting as I mean it's gritty hard rock music and with the tone of classic rock, which is blues. It's got that like sounded like everybody was recording together. Mike, it has that like 70. It's like something that comes out of like some sort of Jack White like recording studio type sound. Like there's a lot of like pops and like the recording is not the highest fidelity. You're not like this is not for putting your cleanest tube amplifier on. It's gritty it's got a texture to it.
Why you gotta ruin this album for me?
No, I mean it sounds very analog. It sounds like somebody was doing things a certain way. It sounds like there's some really good editing that went to make it sound like somebody spent $1 million recording in a studio that was built by some crazy person, which is great. It fits to the aesthetic. There's a lot of like tone and songwriting sounds that are sort of borrowed. I'll get that, but there's only so many ways you can play like a blues riff. There's only so many ways. It's music, like it's how it goes. It's got a unique sound with the vocals as well. There's no like one-to-one comparison to that I've ever heard of a band that sounds like this, that definitely has a person who's focused as in the front that is a woman in like playing music, playing and singing. It's very novel to me. It's noteworthy as well. So like I can break things down a little different because the songs sort of, there are songs that sort of they hang out in the same style, but there's quite a variety within that.
Yeah. And we can break down. Let's get down to some of the tracks. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. To Trackero numero uno. Let's talk about some of the key tracks. I'll do the Record Breakers thing. I had to grab my notes. Do the Record Breakers thing. Start with Get Wasted. It's kind of like an instrumental intro track in a sense. And it's really cool. Like the note that I put in there, and it's the main thing that came up to me. It kind of sounds like a mix between the Jimmy Hart version of Voodoo Child, whatever that would sound like, and ostensibly closely enough, like late 90s, early 2000s wrestling game sound, like menu music. And in essence, so it has like that bluesy influence, but it's like that grunge, like post grunge hard rock sound. It sounds like the kind of song that they would play like while you're trying to create a wrestler in like one of those PlayStation era WWE games.
I had no idea what you were going for, but
I'm looking up Jimmy Hart Voodoo Child right now.
I don't know if he actually made one, but it's just like
he might have,
and
if he does. Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure that he didn't have to, because WCW just got Voodoo Child.
But I would love to hear that man sing that.
Yes. But yeah, that's like the main thing. But I all of this sounds like it's like making it. I liked it. It was a really cool intro. And a song like which is really cool, had showcased Angie's like high energy vocals and like her like just yelling at you. Awesome.
Which Petey? Which?
Both of them. Because I want to talk about the fact that it came in two different languages. Well, two different language versions, like a mostly Korean and entirely English version. Also, it's great because listening to both, you at least learn one Korean word. You get to learn the Korean word for why, which is we. If you remember in which the word.
Do you know the way?
Where, and then in the English version, why? Because in Korean, where means why.
Way you leave the keys up on the table.
Because you wanted to.
You wanted to.
And then, but yeah, it's overall that's the Witch on both versions is really cool. It's really tight and it's really fun. Like, but like it's really like high energy and really cool. And then like a nice change of pace with "We Are More Than Just Lovers." Uh, it still has a similar kind of vibe, but like with an acoustic esque track. Kind of mellows things down, kind of gives it kind of like a different feel, which is really cool. And like the guitar work is really cool and fun, and like overall it's just a really cool like listen to kind of like a cool track to kind of like break up the crazy like bluesy rock stuff that surrounds it. But yeah, let's bring it to you guys about some key tracks. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Get Wasted is something that I haven't done, but I like to listen to. It started out with that, like the dirty guitar licks, the instrumental that focused solely on her guitar work was, like I said before, a really confident move, I think, to have that be your first foot through the door. And it led into a really great song too, the Crossroad Meet the Devil, which I also thought was great. I have in my head, I imagine that is a very big crowd pleaser. We Are More Than Just Lovers. There's a sultry smoothness to that song that I absolutely dug. Bless you. And then Come to My Room, which ending with like an acousticy sort of softer song to let her voice shine through, I think is really, really great.
Yes. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Crossroad Meet the Devil. It's like a blues shuffle, but like the guitar work's pretty good. It's got a really mean bass sound, and I like a good this album, like the bass is all like growly Rickenbacker, and I love that. And I wish I could justify owning a Rickenbacker someday, maybe. But like I mean this in like the. We've listened to a lot of
missed the playoffs.
Yes. We listen to a lot of music in other languages on this show, surprisingly enough. Hearing blues in another language is more jarring than other genres for me. I don't know why. It's just odd. It's interesting because like the vocals are nice. There's like she got a sound going that's pretty cool. It's odd. I don't know what it is. It's just not what I'm used to. I'm used to old white men singing blues questionably. So hearing it in Korean,
there are black men that
I know they do it better.
Some would say made the genre.
Me, I have unfortunately heard a lot of mediocre white men sing blues because I don't know if you know this, but in
You're
small
the one
towns,
that moved to fucking Texas.
No, not here. Here, everyone's good. No, I'm talking like growing up in a small town. Every shitty bar band is a bunch of middle-aged white men who play mediocre blues. I've heard a lot of it. It ain't great. Here, if you stumble into blues, it tends to be pretty quality. Another song with really great bass tone. There's a guitar solo where there's this really nice interplay between what the bass is doing, sort of walking up and down, while the guitar is doing its solo-y thing, and it just sounds really cool, and it's kind of a good song. And then I like it hot. Again, like the way the bass and the guitar pair together works really well. It's groovy. It's kind of got a slight rockabilly vibe to it, and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, We Are Much More Than Lovers. I thought that was a solid song. It's got the grit of like in the feel of like it's very Clapton-esque. That was one of the things that I was trying, like the slides into the chords and the very methodical, but like not crazy blazing fast like crazy solos, but like a very intentional like play a chord slide and play a couple notes bend, that formula, and they did it did it well, and like they shifted later, like the song "Sign." While I thought it was mixed a little heavily on the cymbals, like it was it was mixed in a certain way to sound a certain way. It took me, so we listened to this album a long time ago, and then I listened to it again and wrote my notes, and then I listened to it today and refreshed my notes due to time. And I've been trying to figure out, what does this sound like? What does the song "Sign" sound like to me? What am I hearing? And I had like that epiphany today that it sounds a whole lot like "Radar Love" by Golden Earring. Like they have the tone down like forever, and the same, like there's a lot going on. Somebody listened to a Golden Earring record in the band. And "Runaway," the song stood out to me because it's kind of different. It sounds much more like modern music than classic rock. Like it does not sound as like old. It doesn't sound like something that came from decades ago. It sounds something like a decade ago. And it's got like a lot of noise, and this is one of the songs where there's a lot of popping and they use a lot of feedback. Some would say more than they should, but I still thought that track was good and noteworthy. And I'll give an honorable mention to Witch, because of well, it's because of the bass. So it's both of them.
Yes.
Because it definitely had some unique bass work compared to the rest of the album, which all of the album, like everybody on this album knows what they're doing. Like the sound is very, very tight, but the bass was especially good on Witch.
So shout out
on
to
Witch, the bass was good.
Yes. Shout out to Nils Germain, who's apparently is no longer with the group, but hey, he did a good job on this album. So
Jules Villeneuve, what?
Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Yes.
I will admit, I think last year was the first time I ever heard Reggie's last name said out loud.
Everybody says it differently.
Yeah. That's an entire other story. Neither here nor there.
Not him. I don't want Reggie coming to me.
Yes.
No, not fuck him. Fuck
Fuck him.
Fuck. But yeah, let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album as a whole?
It's something that hit me over the head by surprise. Not what I was expecting probably in a million years, but something that I'm very glad I heard. I am a huge fan of blues music in general, and it's something that this is probably going to be something that I go to after this. Again, it's something that I could very easily see myself listening to just offhandedly, like I do with other bands that we've got here, like Love X Stereo or Bad Rabbits or something like that. It's going to be oh, hey, I haven't heard some good blues in a while. Maybe I should put this on as that. So, and like I said, I've already tried to push this on somebody else. So if I can push it on somebody in the audience, like, that's okay too.
Yes. Hopefully, people check it out. Patrick, what would be your conclusive thoughts?
As I said before, I heard some awful blues in my day. This is not that. This is pretty solid. Blues is not my favorite genre, but this is at least really well executed and worthy of a listen or two or three. I did not hate my time with it. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite thing, but it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
Not unlike a baseball player who washes out in the minor leagues and then becomes a broadcaster because he can't actually play the game, but he can talk about it and can tell you, hey, I understand kind of what's going on. I was in the position of, hey, I know how this music is played because it is something that I did for like 10 years. But I was bad. I was one of those bad white people that played the blues.
Not all of them, but the ones in central Pennsylvania were.
Well, I was never in central Pennsylvania when I was bad, but there's still time.
There's still time. I can
travel to central Pennsylvania.
I can intro you to all the dudes in the scene. There's 4 of them.
I'm gonna rock Lancaster. I'm gonna get the Amish blues out. But no, like this album is fun. This one of those albums that I would have never heard without the show. I wouldn't even known. I would have never had known that there's any kind of this music industry going on where somebody's getting paid to make this kind of music, and it's not just going to SoundCloud or like somebody's trying to sell tapes out the back of their trunk or something. But like this is not a genre where people normally play and make money, because everybody tries to do it and does it bad. Or if they do it good, nobody who knows any better hears them play. So it's kind of nice that there's a platform in Asia, of all places, where blues and blues rock and stuff that, never gets, like, young people don't even play guitars anymore. So like, this is a dying genre in a certain way. It's an old people's music, and it's kind of nice to see somebody liven this up and make it something else. It's much more than a novelty that, hey, listen to this thing that came from across the Pacific. It's actually people making actual music in a genre that has been around for 100 years. So it's kind of nuts that this is a marketable product, and they are doing a good job of representing it sounds like they put a lot of care and effort into this album to make it sound the way that they wanted, and it came out pretty good.
Yeah. It's a really cool album. I think overall it's a really cool album. I don't know if I would put it as something that is necessarily succeeding or making money. I think if you look at the career's actual landscape, it's mostly just coffee shop ballads and hip hop.
Do you think they would be known if somebody brought them up?
Probably.
Because if I went down the street and I said, "Hey, you ever heard of Joe Bonamassa?" How many people would be like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
These artists here just don't.
Yeah, it's hard. They're out there. They're out there grinding. They're making music, and they have like fans here and there. But they're still grinding there. But yeah, they're really talented. Angie's really talented. Doing that. It's because this is basically it's her group that she has people work with her on. But yeah, it's a really cool album by a really cool band that I'm looking forward to seeing more from. It's it has that blues, it has a bluesy rock and roll, it has that really live feel, it has a really energetic feel. I think anybody can enjoy, because it's just a fun record, and it's a really well made record. But without being overproduced, I think, except for obviously some parts where Brett pointed out a little bit like added affectation, but overall I think it has a really cool feel. It's really good. Angie's voice is really great. Like it captivates you. And it's really cool because like they're also working with our friends at Love X Stereo at Love X Studio with stuff as well, because I've seen them like work with them on stuff and like maybe record some stuff at Love X Studio, as it were. So kind of like things coming together, paths crossing, and probably mainly why I've caught interest in this group and this project. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that. Because as seeing what is next and what comes from that, and how Angie's approach to the sound evolves. So that'll be something really cool to look forward to. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, overall, I highly recommend anybody that likes rock and roll, anybody likes bluesy rock and roll, anybody likes blues, check this out. It might be a really cool thing to enjoy, and hopefully get more and more people word of mouth. Hopefully they have a little bit of an international following, and that'll be helpful for them. Hopefully they will have that, which would be cool. But yeah, Wasted Johnnies. Those are our thoughts. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. We sum it all up in poetic form. Yeah, let's do this. Drew, what is your haiku?
Good bluesy music with a pretty damn vocal. I can dig this one.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, now for real, what is your haiku?
Some blues revival hailing from South Korea. It's pretty all right.
Brett, what is your haiku?
Asian bluesy rock with homages to the greats. Worth a listen, yo.
Yeah. My haiku. High energy tunes that'll get you headbanging. It both rocks and rolls. I would probably
And how?
Let's see. You know what? Retroactively, I'm gonna change tunes to blues. There you go. Let the record show.
Oh no.
Yes.
Get that note.
Yes. But yeah, those are our haiku reviews. Those are thoughts on Wasted Johnny's. Wasted Johnny's is Crossroad. It's gonna be fun. I love that I get to put a apostrophe in the inside and outside of that S. This is like, Wasted Johnny's is the name, and it's in their possession. So Wasted Johnny's is but yeah, Wasted Johnny's is Crossroad. You can find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Fortunately, it's not on a lot of other places, but at least it's on Spotify. And it's on Apple Music by way of it being on iTunes. So it's on those two places. So check it out there. But yeah, on that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's provided by Patrick. Patrick, what do you have for us next week?
We're gonna go back to Brett's favorite genre, third wave ska, with Dancehall Crashers and their album Lockjaw.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened that I'm not bringing Dancehall Crashers, but
Yes.
fucking whatever.
It was next on my list to pick, you bastard.
It's a Tim and Matt product. You'd think one of us would have grabbed it eventually. But
I like how you say it's a Tim and Matt product, as if either of them were involved with this album. Although I think Tim wrote a song on it.
Pick it up.
I was gonna say
Yes.
Not really.
But yeah. That will be next week. But that's next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Brett is at Hibbity Bibbard, HIBBI2YBIBBARD. Drew is at Extrusive for X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us some feedback, rebelly.net. For listening to other shows on the website, you can leave us feedback as well, comments. Let us know what you think of Wasted Johnny's. Give us some, your thoughts on the album, your preferred tracks, and your haiku even. That would be awesome too. Be a participant. Join the conversation.
Call us awful names.
Exactly. It's funny.
It is. We love it.
Yeah.
If you call me an awful name on Twitter, I will PayPal you $1.
Yes.
That's cool. I'm going to do that like 50 times.
It doesn't count for you
Yeah.
idiots.
No, you know how this works with the contests. Employees of the company are not eligible. But yes. But yeah, do all the things like, share, subscribe. Until next time. Hasta los huevos. That was Brett Bott saying toodaloo.